When we look at nature, we see that the energy of the sun is fueling everything on this earth. It's stirring up the movement of the wind. It's causing plants to grow and animals that eat those plants to then grow. And scientists have seen from biophotonic studies that we're actually constantly emitting light from our bodies. It's pretty amazing. And I'm thinking about that in the context of what gives us passion, what gives us drive. And one way of looking at it is saying that that drive comes from that fiery energy that's at our core, through our relationship with the sun, through that solar energy moving through us, right? It gives us that desire to create, to experience. And one of the things that happens, though, especially if we lean towards perfectionism or high achievement, is we can end up burning ourselves out, right? That fire energy gets a hold of us and it expresses so strongly that we push and push and push sometimes. And we end up frustrated, we end up burnt out, right? And I'm thinking about lessons from nature, in these wild wisdom tips, just as we track the nature within and around us to increase our own well-being and sense of connection, what we can learn from that. And I'm reminded, when I see baby animals, right, that are learning how to fly. For instance, like one time I watched some baby owls, and these owlets had left the nest, but they still weren't able to fly super far. They were flopping along kind of from branch to branch, and then they'd hang out for a while and then flop to another branch, and they didn't always make it to the branch. So there's a learning process that goes on. And sometimes when we hold that fiery, powerful vision for where we want to go, we see ourselves there in our mind, yet there's some learning, right? There's actually learning through trying and action and just experimenting to figure out those steps to get there. And that can be frustrating, especially if we're really putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to achieve that vision. So one of the favorite things I've learned from many different teachers I've encountered was the idea to get out there every day and make a lot of mistakes, and actually to give oneself permission to do this. That's empowering when we realize that it's through the doing, right? It's through the doing, but not getting lost in the doing, but staying centered in our being as we approach that action, that we learn how to find that flow of aligned action that helps us move towards making our vision a reality. And giving ourselves permission to make mistakes, permission to be human, and that process is so vital because we will make mistakes, right? If you think back to when you were learning to walk as a child, right? As just a little toddler, and you're starting to take those first steps, well, what happens? You take a few steps and you fall, right? And you do that over and over, but you get encouragement and support and you keep trying, right? You keep experimenting until you get the hang of this gravity thing and this holding oneself up and the controlled fall. And each step forward really is a controlled fall. We're literally going past our center of gravity and then falling forward and catching ourselves with that foot and then moving forward again after we catch ourselves. And we can think of movement along our visionary path in that same way, that we're creating momentum, and sometimes that momentum takes us where we don't expect, right? And we need to be able to learn to catch ourselves, recover, and pivot, right? And so especially in business, the faster we can pivot and learn from our mistakes and then keep moving forward, that's a trait of highly successful business owners, which is interesting to think about and to emulate. How can we do that? How can we not get caught in the stories that come up so often of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I don't know how to do this, or what will people say as I learn how to do this, right? Instead, refocusing out of those negative self-talk dialogues and recognizing that we're on a journey and that it's okay to make mistakes on that journey. It really is. And that when we do that, when we can pause and step back and uncover the wisdom in those moments when we fall, that gives us more strength when we get back up. And it's not about falling, because we're all going to fall. But the question we always have to ask ourselves is, what are we going to do when we fall down? How are we going to get back up, right? And that's where holding that positive vision is so important, and cultivating that for oneself, because nobody else can do it for you. You have to find that place inside yourself of connection and that fiery positive energy. And then sometimes when that fire burns too strong and we get frustrated, that's when we bring in the water energy, right? Imagine that waterfall coming down from above and just filling you up, and that tempers the fire, right? And it helps us find that place of compassion for ourselves and our heart, right? Bringing in that water energy. And I like to just do that, to imagine and sense with all my inner senses that there's a big waterfall above me, and I hear it and I feel that cool water coming down. It's moving through my central channel, from my crown down through the soles of my feet down into the center of the earth, and I just let that wash through. And you can sync the breathing up with that and just let it wash through you and let it temper those frustrations, temper that excess of fire energy, to balance that, and then feel that compassion for yourself and your heart of holding yourself on your visionary journey, recognizing that it is a journey and it's okay to make mistakes and that we can learn from those and grow. So that's a little bit of wild wisdom today. This is stuff that I love to work with people on in one-to-one coaching, where we work on finding that inner place of connection and vision, cultivating that strong place inside ourselves, and also meeting those aspects of the limiting self-talk and those inner barriers that come up, that circulate through sometimes unconsciously, and really working with those, tending those, so that we're not sourcing from that, but we're sourcing from that deep place inside us that is committed to bringing that positive vision forward in our lives that we want to see. So if that interests you, please feel free to reach out to me or visit my site, consciousnature.net, to learn more. And I hope that you consider these ideas. And if you find yourself in that place of frustration or impatience, sometimes with what you want to manifest and create, and you're putting that pressure on yourself, use that waterfall technique. Feel it coming down, sync up your breath with it, and just let it temper that fire. Find that place of balance inside yourself that gives you that compassion and that grounding that you need to keep moving forward one step at a time. All right, that's all for today. Be back with more soon. Be well.